Hello and welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights, the show where we ask SaaS founders, CEOs, marketers and investors about the lessons they've learned in their quest to grow their companies. My name is Paul Stevenson and I'm founder and CEO of SaaS marketing agency 47 Insights. On today's show I have an interview with Kumaran Veluppillai, co-founder at SaaStock. Hope you enjoy it.
Well, hi, I'm with Kumy from Kumaran Veluppillai from SaaStock, and we're here at SaaStock in San Francisco. What do you think of the show so far, Kumy?
Yeah, it's been great. This is my second year here. Really enjoying it. It's always great when you get a bunch of SaaS founders and execs in the room. So many great learnings, so many great conversations. It's been a lot of fun.
So you're one of the co-founders of SaaStock. Who's your other founder?
Yes.
Name check him.
Yeah, so Alex sort of started this all on his own.
Oh, right.
So the story goes that he was looking at various entrepreneurial endeavours, and he's told me some of his other ideas, and they weren't all that solid. And in some ways, it was somewhat accidental. So he just started by doing a podcast. And started interviewing a bunch of folks within sort of the European SaaS ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then at that point, people were like, hey, maybe you should do this in-person thing. And so he organised a couple of meetups, and I actually spoke at the second meetup he organised in London. And at that point, he told me, hey, so I'm thinking of doing this conference in Dublin, bring together 700 SaaS founders, execs and investors, and being the nice guy I am, I was like, yeah, you should 100% do it. Sounds great. But I walked away just feeling it was a pretty crazy idea, and thinking that it would be almost impossible to do. And so later that year, when I was actually an attendee in year one. And I arrived in Dublin to see 700 people there, great content on the stage, and for the first time I'd met my peers and had the sort of conversations which I'd really been sort of lusting for in many respects, whereby I just didn't have that support system of other folks who were going through the same pains and challenges as I was. A few months after that, Alex sort of reached out to me and said, hey, doing this on my own has been really challenging.
I bet.
And his background sales, it'd be really great to sort of add someone who can do marketing, hopefully better than I can. And so that's sort of when I came on board, and that was about a year ago now. And then we completed our second conference in September of last year, and managed to double the size of the event.
Wow.
And also extended the format from sort of a one-day event to a 3-day format. And now sort of building for year 3.
Wow. So, begs the question, what were you doing before you did SaaStock? You were a SaaS marketer, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and so how that came about was entirely random.
The best things in life always are.
So I've been working with a local VC firm. They sort of operated a studio model, and we're throwing a lot of stuff at the wall and testing, iterating a bunch of ideas.
Some of it's stuck.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me, the ideas I was throwing at the wall didn't quite stick. And I was looking for something new to do, but I wasn't sure what that was. And it was taking some time out. And there was a service which I'd sort of registered for. It was called Hire My Friend. I put a very small bio to it, but I got a connection request through a SaaS founder in London. I didn't really know very much about SaaS, so just ahead of meeting him, I remember reading David Scott's blog, reading a bunch of the terminology, and thinking, okay,
knowing the lingo is half the battle,
yeah,
especially in SaaS.
this seems kind of interesting. And we met up at a coffee shop and sort of offered me a role to join the business as a first marketing hire.
So which business is this?
So yeah, the company's called Kayako. It's a customer service platform. Bootstrap company, started in India, and they were just setting up offices in India. And they managed to grow the business organically through word of mouth and no real sort of considered marketing effort.
So like zero cost of customer acquisition?
Yeah, well it's never always entirely free.
No.
But yeah, through no concerted effort other than through building sort of a mini brand within the segment they served. And so that's sort of how I began to get to grips with SaaS. And I started through my background in direct response marketing using
That's a good
SEO
start.
and AdWords. But then as we started to launch the new product, I learned a huge amount through branding and repositioning and starting to look at new customer segments for our software.
Fantastic. So that's quite a journey. On that journey, there must have been. So you hinted that there were some things that you tried in terms of marketing that didn't work, and some things that probably worked beyond your expectations. Any insights into what bombed for you or what went particularly well?
So I think actually the biggest lever we pulled was actually around pricing and packaging.
Yeah.
So historically as a business, it was a download perpetual product. So
Old school.
It's the way software used to be sold, right?
Yeah.
And so someone would buy a license, pay a one-off fee, and then we would say goodbye and wish them all the best with our software. And as we were sort of making that transition to a cloud subscription company, how we positioned ourselves, how we messaged the value we delivered, but also how we priced the product changed significantly. And it was those tweaks around pricing which really moved the revenue lever the most. And so often in the world of marketing, we look at some of those quick hacks to generate more leads or to generate more pipeline. And we tried many of those things, and some completely flopped, and certain things worked. But consistently, the lever we were able to pull the most was pricing.
Yeah.
And I think it's often the case for a lot of SaaS companies where we don't truly understand the value we are building and delivering to customers.
Leaving money on the table.
Yeah, leaving money on the table, and through understanding that better and being able to maximise your value, really sort of significantly impacts on the business.
That's great. I think that's a really good insight, because as marketers we tend to start thinking about SEO or paid or some other channel, but if the fundamentals aren't right, you're missing out. So I think it's pretty smart to look at that side of it, and obviously it went really well. So going back to SaaStock, this is going to be year 3 in September, and you've also got news about taking it on the road.
Yeah. So year 3 we're looking sort of
Still in Dublin.
Continue the global event in Dublin. We're sort of looking to double the size again.
So how many attendees would that be?
That'll be 3,000 attendees.
3,000.
And
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big goal, but I think it's something which, as a team, we're very excited about being able to do, and sort of fronting up to that challenge. But as you sort of mentioned with the taking it on the road, it was something we actually did last year, and in many respects, what we started with year 1 with SaaStock, it was just a really great way to bring together people across Europe. And then last year when we ran these local events, it was just a really great way to connect the local ecosystem. It constantly surprises me how many folks who live in the same cities, working on SaaS, going
They
through
don't
the
know
same
what's going on
problems.
around them.
I had no idea that there was someone else who was facing the same problems or going through that same journey. And so those local meetups proved very popular and proved a really great way to bring people together. And so this year we're sort of extending the format.
So it's a European tour.
And so we're extending the format not just in terms of taking it from what was effectively an evening meetup to sort of a full one-day event crammed with sort of practical content for founders and executives to take away and apply to their businesses, but also expanding the geography. So, at SaaStock last year, we saw many folks travel far and wide to attend SaaStock, and we kind of feel that the same way we rode when we started SaaStock in terms of bringing the European community together very much applies to many markets outside of the US, where SaaS you can start from anywhere, and it's a very exciting opportunity to sort of bring it to different areas across the world. And so we've announced 12 cities, including Sydney. Helsinki is one which is proving very popular, Cape Town, New York, and so expanding into markets outside the EU.
That's fantastic. I mean, to take something that you started in Dublin and now you're expanding and building a global brand. SaaStock needs to look out.
So we're really excited by what we're doing, and we also love what SaaStock does, and that's why I'm here. It's we sort of have our own take on how we like to do things, and we hope that sort of flavour resonates with the new communities we start working with.
Cool. So, final question. I wanted to ask you about the differences you see in the European SaaS community market versus over here, San Francisco, West Coast, the Valley, all of that. The thing that I keep hearing is like capital. Access to capital is very different. Is there anything else that you see, because you're coming from a completely different perspective?
No, completely. So Europe's still very early, and the ecosystem has accelerated massively over the last couple of years, and there's a lot of very cool companies I'm very excited about, and we're sort of really going through that first wave. And I think what's sort of unique is how the broad spectrum of verticals which these SaaS applications are building solutions to solve real meaningful business problems. And I think the second is, so as you sort of touched upon, capital is a constraint, but also, and with that comes sort of the market. And so the market is significantly larger over here in North America. And, a really hot topic for a lot of European founders is, when is the right time to make that move to the US, and how do we get those fast boots on the ground? Who should we be hiring? In what roles? How do we manage the culture of the business? And so I think that trend continues to be the case.
So you see that as a topic that people are always interested in at SaaStock, or just out in the halls talking about?
It's very much a very popular topic, both on stage, but also a conversation amongst founders. But I do feel that more and more companies are starting to feel that they can still build big companies from remaining in Europe, but then sort of having a second office versus having to
move the whole
to the US,
lock, stock and two shooting barrels. Kumy, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for your
Awesome.
insights.
Thank you much.
Good luck with SaaStock this year. I hope to make it across. I'd
Yeah.
love to. It's a great excuse to
we'd
go
love
to
to have
Dublin. Okay, thanks a lot.
Awesome, thank you much.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Kumy. For more info on SaaStock, please visit www.SaaStock.com. Next week, I'll be talking with Barry Larson, CEO at TrustyOx Systems. For more info about this show and to get our links to iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube, please visit www.47insights.com/podcast. And if you have any SaaS marketing insights that you'd like to share on the show, get in touch via that page. Until next time.